Absolutely phenomenal morning, guys. This is your Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Sean Wright East, flanked as always by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson. Listen, guys, we have a phenomenal topic this morning. This morning is going to be a little bit different than what you're probably used to. Bobby Jackson, how you feeling this morning, sir?
Oh, feeling amazing, feeling amazing. It is something in the air. It definitely is. I woke up this morning feeling good. My meditation was good. Prayed, and I was like, it's something in the air today. So I'm excited about the topic because I felt great this morning. Not that I don't feel good every morning, but something special this morning.
Very good, very good. So I've got some good news, right? I got some news, but then I've also got some revelation for people. Ever since we began with the Leadership Live Deep Dive at 5, the Alien Called, and the Breakfast with the Brand, people have been saying, Sean, how do you give so much for free? How do you give so much for free, guys? Go check us out on YouTube and look at the more than 1,000 videos, like for free, actually detailing how you can add a zero to you, your business, your brand, your clientele. I don't care what it is. We gave away a whole challenge on YouTube, Bobby. So remember the Closing Like a Leader challenge? Closing Like a Leader challenge is on YouTube. Like on Brand You, like it's on YouTube. And the beautiful thing about this that people don't realize is we had a phenomenal client slash attendee in the challenge. Young woman by the name of Devin in real estate. Guys, so I'm talking about a 3-day challenge just so that we're clear on this. People don't understand the value of what we give away for free every single day. You just don't understand. However, Devin came to the first day of the Closing Like a Leader challenge, got off of the call, actually did what we said to do. So we gave homework on the call, on the challenge. First day we gave homework, and she actually went and did the homework. Guys, she went and did the homework and came back the second day with an announcement to make. She came back the second day with an announcement, and we're going to talk about that announcement and what that looks like when we come back. This is your Breakfast with the Brand. Stay tuned. Share this out. Let's grow. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
All right, guys. So just welcome back real quick. And going back and forth with Bobby on the back end, I wondered if he remembered exactly what happened. And he did. So, Bobby, go ahead and tell the people what happened. Now, this is one day, first day of the Closing Like a Leader Challenge, which is free on YouTube. What happened, Bobby?
Man, so we got the homework. She comes back the next day. Everybody's excited because a lot of people did the homework, but she was one of the individuals that got cash, guys. Cash collected. It wasn't like, oh, I did the homework and I got more leads than ever before. It wasn't oh, I got some leads and I was on a call with some people and I actually got more yeses. Like it was, hey, 1K, one play, or excuse me, 1 day, one play, 20K. She came back with 20K for the bag. And she told the story and I was just listening and I was like, wow, that's incredible. So when I think back to that story, I can still see her face to this day. Phenomenal individual. And she was a go-getter, an executor. So I'm, a prime example as well. Execute, you get results, but she got her results, instantaneously, and very proud of her and happy for her. Crushed it.
So in real time, guys, what she did was she took all of the air out of the bag.
Yeah.
Right? She took all of this is what happens, right? You guys get information and you're motivated. And I tell people this all the time. I say that ROI is based on SOI. ROI is based on SOI. So people always say, well, what's the return on investment? If I do this with you, what's the return on investment? Well, she came and she spent maybe like 4, maybe 6. I think she might have had the VIP. So she might have came in and did 9 to 12 and then from 1 to 3. So like 5 hours. So she invested 5 hours and maybe like $97 or 47, maybe 197. I don't know what the VIP was at the time. However, it's absolutely free on YouTube right now, guys. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. She monetized. She implemented when she got off the call. And she closed $15,000 cash with $5,000 left to collect contracted. So $20,000 in 1 day with 2 days to go. Closing Like a Leader was a 3-day challenge. And people wonder why, Sean, why do you give it away for free? And it's because I can. That's why. It's because I can. There is infinite and endless value where true confidence resides. That's why I say share this out, because it's not going to harm you to share it out. Just like it doesn't harm me to give it away for free. I want you to be successful. I want to make more millionaires. One of the first goals that I said I had was 1 million millionaires, starting with you. Starting with you who's watching this now. But it's on you to implement so that you can be successful and so you can enjoy in what everybody else who does implement enjoys. And that's immediate, swift, fast, and very decisive results. Very decisive results. So this is about contribution. And that's why it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because I'm sworn to servant leadership. Said that from the very beginning as well. I believe that servant leadership is transformative leadership because we were able to serve and transform that young woman's life in 1 day. And she has children and she has a husband. You guys can go check out the testimonial on YouTube as well as the challenge and get the same results or better. And come back and let us know like how much money you made, how much impact you made, how many people you helped, because realistically, we always put meaningfulness over money. Money's a derivative of value added. Everybody leads with money, but money is a derivative of value first. Every entrepreneur makes 2 decisions. The first decision is that you take 100% responsibility for your financial outcomes. You have no longer a sense of entitlement. Somebody owes you something. Or somebody should give you something just because you signed up for something or you showed up to something. That's not how it works. You take 100% value. You take 100% responsibility for your financial freedom. And number two, the decision number two is that you understand that you only get paid in like or in response to the value that you add first. You must add value first, and then the income that you get is a derivative of the value added. So if you're looking at your bank account and you're wondering where's the money, you got to ask yourself, where's the value that you are responsible for providing first? So what you're looking at when you see us do this breakfast with the brand is you're looking at principles in action, universal, economic, and entrepreneurial, universal principles at play. And I'm going to show this to you because I'll just give you the announcement, right? Shout out to Canelo Alvarez too. I know a lot of people like, who is Sean talking about? Why is Sean talking about all these different things? Because I bring it all together, guys. One of the things that I do, the way I think, is I pull together a lot of different correlational, tangible facts. It's not an emotion. You can get emotional. It's not motivational. You can get motivated. It can be called inspirational because you can be inspired, but I want you to understand anything I present you is going to be 1000% facts. So Canelo Alvarez has now renewed his deal with TV Azteca in Mexico for another year and said that he's resisted pressure from broadcasters to make his fights pay-per-view. They will remain completely free for fans to watch in his home country. That's called contribution. That's called love. That's called selfless service. And that's called servant leadership. He doesn't worry about the money because he understands that the money takes care of itself when he cares about people and he adds value first.
This takes me back to when you were teaching, if you want to add to your revenue, the zero to your revenue is based on the rev in you. I remember you teaching that in Branded Like a Leader 2.0. And that's like coming to my mind a lot when I think about how much revenue or how much value am I putting into the marketplace. You also taught me if you want to pull more revenue out, you got to put more value in. Like you got to be able to pour yourself into the marketplace. And I think what a lot of us can get a little hung up on is how to keep pouring that value. And I think that's where that confidence piece that we've been talking about today is so crucial, because I think there's a lot of individuals that give and then they give out. It's like either they reach their competency or they've reached their level of what's the word I'm looking for? Conditioning, their endurance, like they just burn out. They didn't have too much more left to give because either they're getting fearful, their lack is mindsets coming in, or they just ran out of competence. And I think that this is really exposing various gaps that anyone can have. You know, you could be at the top tier, you could be at the first getting started tier. If there's more revenue for you to extract from the marketplace, but you're not really getting all of it out that you want, the question may be, how can I put some more value in? What can I do to put some more value into the marketplace?
You know, Bobby, people don't understand the lifelong pursuit of knowledge. They don't understand it. They don't understand the concept. They say, okay, I've invested this much money. Now I'm done. Now it's time for me to, or they start making money and they say, okay, I'm great. I'm gravy now. Now I get to stop learning and now I can just rake in the money for the rest of my life. And it just doesn't work that way. One of the first things recorded written is seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And we want to seek knowledge from the cradle to getting paid.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, I'm going to make more and more and more and more. And we forget what happens, guys, is if you're, think of a bank account. if you're investing in, if you're putting money into a bank account, let's say you're putting knowledge into your head, the vast bank account, the reservoir, the storehouse of knowledge. You're pouring money into this bank account, which is your mind, which is your level of competency. And then you start to get money from it. That's supposed to happen. That's universal. It's supposed to happen. So you pour in, and then you begin to pour out, and the money begins to pour in. But what the problem is, people don't understand the mutualism. They get egotistical, and they forget the principles behind the revenue that's coming in. The revenue that's coming in is from humility. From humility and knowing that you don't know. So you become humble and you begin to receive information. You begin to pay time and money to receive information so that you can become valuable or valuable in the marketplace. Valuable means that you're now able to provide value. And the reason why you're able to provide value is because you have become value to a certain point. But what happens is in the dissemination of this value and this information, now the concentration and the focus becomes money. I got to get money now. I got to get more money now. Like a watch feels good, so they want 10 of them. I understand, right? But in order for you to get, if you put in a certain amount of knowledge that provides you with a great watch, you got to intake 10 times that value to go get 10 more watches. And what happens is they stop focusing on what allowed them to become powerful in the first place, and they're just concentrated on the revenue coming in instead of the rev in them that created the ability to get the value in the first place. They become selfish.
Wow.
They become selfish instead of selfless. So they stop learning. And that's what Bobby was talking about when he said, like, the cutoff point of your value. Because if you got a storehouse of information, but you start disseminating that information and you don't continue to pour in more, you begin to start sounding the same. You begin to start saying the same things over and over again. It's called limited instead of infinite. And you never reach a point of mastery or complete confidence because you become the value. And you're just able to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and disseminate a seminar for 5 days nonstop. Which is why people say, well, Sean, how do you just not script and not have to think to produce value? It's because I'm always pouring value in. Always. Incessantly. It never stops. It never stops. I'm learning in the interaction while I'm serving clients. And when I'm not with clients, I'm learning for clients. And I'm always investing tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to go here. So when I open my mouth, it's worth millions, guys. And anyone who has ever implemented anything that I've said has gone out into the marketplace and pulled money back in easily, painlessly.
%. And this is one of those calls that make me think about what the year can be if you just execute on the things that you know you're supposed to execute on. Because I think everybody knows that they should be learning something new every day. It's like an apple. Like, you should probably do that every day. And I think that everybody also knows that, you know, the more they get around quality people having quality conversations, that they're going to get better quality clients, better quality prices, all of these things. Like, I'm pretty sure we know these things without being told them, but for whatever reason, we just don't do them. So one of the things that I like to encourage myself and everyone to do is just maybe make a short list. I remember Sean did this with me maybe a year or two ago. And he said, write a list down of all the things that if you stopped doing would make you, say, 10 times better. And then write a list of all the things that you would need to do to make you 10 times better. And then pretty much do 1 to 2 of these things, you know, a day. Just build yourself up to knock as many of those bad things off and add as many of those good things in. And, you know, it seems simple, but when I did it, I became exponentially more productive and exponentially more effective. And sometimes it's just that simple. So I wanted to just bring that to the forefront as we talk about all of the free value that comes through this broadcast and how you might be able to actually start monetizing free. Start taking what you're getting, and how do I actually start assimilating myself? Well, first, maybe take a few of the notes that you've learned here through the year or the past years and say, if I do 1, 2, 3, which I haven't been doing, and I try this out for about 30 days, and I take a look at what my results are, I'm either going to be X times better, or I may find some gaps in my thinking. And all of these things, guys, will move you forward in the right direction. So I just wanted to give you some practical application on what I've been doing as a student year after year after year to improve.
And it's resulted in 400% revenue increase year after year after year. And the initial act is one of vulnerability, one of humility, and one of coachability. What happens, guys, is the student begins to fancy themselves the master. The student begins to learn, and the student goes in the market and starts to get results, and then fancies themselves cocky and says, oh, I'm good now. I'm great now. And what happens is they cut themselves off from developing further. And that's the initial point of descent. That's when they begin to decline. And then because they're declining, and because they fancy themselves the master and said some cocky things and some arrogant things, or position themselves in an arrogant way, now they feel embarrassed. And they basically burned the bridges. At least in their mind, they feel like they burned the bridges that would allow them to reinvent themselves and renew themselves. Think of the fountain of youth. The fountain of youth is a never-ending resource. It's infinite in its ability to give. But what happens is people come and they get a small amount. They get a small amount and they're like, okay, I'm great now. And they only go as far as the small amount can take them. And then they begin to age and get withered and worn out. And what happens is they go too far. Pay attention. What happens is they go too far and they don't think about what it's going to take to come back to get more. So they die in the wilderness. And this is how people die in business, because they take a little bit and they run off like an immature adolescent. They just run off like I'm Superman now. All gas, no brakes. Consequential thinking. All hypothalamus. This is brain language, guys. All emotion, all motivation, no understanding of reality, right? Continuing educational units. This is why they have them in education. Because the world changes, situations change, markets change, business is volatile. Business is volatile. So whether you got a master's degree, a PhD, 5 of them bad boys, you can never cut yourself off from the fount of education. Motivation will get you going. Inspiration will get you up in the morning. But education and evidence-based strategies and discipline will keep you going when that initial wave of euphoria and dopamine wears off. And you never, ever, ever want to take yourself too far away from the source Because when that happens, you find your information or value limited, and that's when you begin to decline in business. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. I hope you're taking a lot of notes today, because this will make you more money than you ever thought possible. Guaranteed. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Bobby, go right ahead for a little while, because I feel like I've given so much. You know, I just want people to kind of like, you could chew on what I just said for the next 5 years, guys. Literally. And it would serve you very, very well if you did.
I agree. I'm thinking back to some of my military experiences as a leader and how we develop different people. And the fall of Icarus, I think, was the story. The guy that flew too close to the sun, and he pretty much made these wings of wax, and he started flying high. And as he flew higher and higher and higher, he got closer and closer to the sun. I think in this analogy, the sun resembled the reality, the real world, how things actually are. And the closer he got to the heat, the more his fictitious wax-built wings could not withstand the realities of life, and he plummeted to the ocean. So with the Marine Corps, one of the most defining moments for me was when I was called into the office, and I had a master sergeant tell me, you know, there, Sergeant Jackson, I'd like you to sit down. It's come to my attention that you are a cosmetic Marine. And I was a little struck by what he meant by this. I'm like, cosmetic? What are you talking about? He says, you know, the acrylic nails sometimes, or the weaves, the things that the women sometimes wear, the young Marines, you see him, you know what I mean? Because he's an older guy. He's like, yeah, I know what you mean. And he's like, yeah, these things aren't real. They're meant to deceive. they're deceptive. They look real on the outside, but they're just not really real. And then at this point, I knew I was being insulted, but somewhat corrected. He was just an older gentleman, but granted, he wasn't that old. And he knew what he was saying, and he was intentionally correcting me here, or attempting to. And here's what happened. The interesting thing about this entire situation is this individual goes on to tell me that, Bobby, you have an image for us as the leadership, and then you have this image for the Marines. They see you one way, this, that, and the third. So when you think about your business, I want you to think about, do you have someone that's willing to pull you to the side and call you cosmetic? Do you have that or not? I've been pulled to the side a few times by Sean and by this individual. Well, in the Marine Corps setting, it was like once or twice, but it's because when you're developing, and I'll tell you guys a little bit behind the scenes why this happens. When you're developing as a leader, you're changing, you're evolving. And as you evolve, you have the tendencies of the caterpillar while you're learning to fly as the butterfly. Like, you were a caterpillar for a long time. So you have some tendencies that might show up that someone has to tell you, hey, you don't do that as a butterfly. Like, that's not how we fly. Or you will have some things that you did while on the ground, you're eating leaves and stuff. We don't eat that anymore. Like, you can't do that. But if you don't have someone else up there flying with you as you're looking the part on the outside, but behaving on a lesser level, then no one's going to be able to help you get to the next level of the, say, butterfly, the flying entity. So in your business, you might have hit the revenue meter once and then you went back down. You might have hit it a few times, but it wasn't consistent. So it's like, I can look the part, I can say this, but I'm not always in that vein. I'm not staying there. Why is that? So back to the story. So I just wanted to connect it to the business for you guys. So I'm in his office and he's saying, yeah, you look this way for us, but when you're out there with the Marines, it's just not consistent. You do this here, you do that there, you do this here. And you can imagine, I've heard this in business. Bobby, you say this one day, you say this day, you say that this day, and I'm just like, I can't catch a break. But the reality is I've always grown fast. In the Marine Corps, I got a rank every year, literally. I came in, and the moment I came in, I was sergeant, corporal, staff sergeant, boom, 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 just that fast. And it's always happened like that for me because of the intensity that I have about what I do. So your intensity might be the same way. You got in, you started getting results, you're making things happen, and now you simply need someone to tell you the hard truths. So let's talk about how this story ended. So he sits me down, he calls me a cosmetic Marine. I got a little bit upset, said something. It was not disrespectful, but it wasn't the most professional. And then I left the office. And when I left the office, I said to myself, either you can be good or you can be great. And I said, I want to be great. And I humbly, vulnerably, and coachably walked back into that office, hat in hand, and I said, Master Sergeant, how messed up am I, really? And I had a lower voice. I sat myself down, and he said, about as messed up as a football bat, but we're going to get you right. Don't worry. We're going to get you right. And he started talking about all of these different things that I could do to get my leadership up to par. And the last thing that I will say with this story, just to show you guys like the real intensity behind growing and scaling your business and coming into yourself and not being afraid to grow, because we've all been it. If you have experience, education, and expertise, like you've had a paper given back to you by a professor that was jacked up. You've had someone in your job field that was maybe a colleague that caught a mistake that you shouldn't have missed. Like, it's all happened to us before, right? So what ended up happening that really drove this experience home for me was I think a few days later, or maybe a week or two later, I was driving with some Marines and I was in the back. I was taxed to the max with so many responsibilities, and one of the people were driving, and the person that was driving was speeding. And I didn't catch it. And I got back to the office and he wrote me up for that person speeding. And I'm like, why am I being punished for them speeding when I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this? He said, shut your mouth. I don't want to hear none of that. This is Marine Corps, so they can say that. Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear none of that. You're being punished because you were the leader. You were the one in the back seat. It should have never happened. And those are the types of conversations that just make you like really embrace leadership, development, take no excuses, take no prisoners, and grow. And that's what I learned to embrace, to respect and appreciate. And it rarely feels good. But if you can bring yourself to be that type of person that can welcome the corrections, sky is the limit, in my experience.
Has been in mine as well. And I'm a hard learner. Man, let me tell you, I'm the guy that didn't come back into the office. I'm the guy that might have got pulled out of the office and taken to the brig. I'm that guy. And life showed up. I mean, in so many different ways for me, roughly and correctively, and all kinds of manners of corrective action that you can possibly imagine. It was anything but easy. But I was the one that made it hard. And as entrepreneurs, some of those caterpillar ways, we drag those into wax wings when we try to become butterflies and fly. We become arrogant, we become nonchalant, we become, a little bit condescending and cocky. It's okay to be assertive. It's okay to be proud of yourself. It's not okay to get so far away from the fountain of youth that you can't make it back. It's not okay to get so high up into the sky with wax wings that you die, that your business dies, that you do clients harm, that you do your family harm, that you do yourself irreparable harm that's not fixable. Entrepreneurship is not easy. It's one of the hardest things that you'll ever do. But it's one of the most meaningful things that you'll ever do as well. But just like anything else, it requires guidance. It requires mentorship. It requires high levels of investment. And it's not a risk-free environment. Like there's live fire. It's a live fire situation. And people die in mock battles all the time. But there's nothing mock about business. There's no simulation in business. This is real. This is so real. And when you look at mental health, when you look at the state of divorces, when you look at the state of economies, when you look at the state of all of those different things, all of the negatives are more prevalent amongst entrepreneurs because we don't have those course correctors. Some of us choose not. We choose to go it alone. And even a lion, the king of the jungle by himself, is food for hyenas, for little jackals. Little jackals become saber-toothed tigers amongst a lion when he's by himself.
Crazy.
But then when you see these things in the jungle, when you see these things happening, little jackals ripping apart a lion, it only takes one more lion to come to disperse of the entire pack of jackals and jokes and clowns and cowards. And like, business is not that hard. The thing is this: when you're alone, everything seems insurmountable. It's called isolation. And we do it in regular life, and even more so in business, because we become a little bit jaded by transitory success. Business is an ongoing repetition process. It's ongoing. Markets change, clients change, demands change, supply changes. everything changes. And if you're there for the first time and you've got some success, it's like, okay, great, I'm flying now. I've learned how to fly. I've got my wings. That's cool in the summer. But when it becomes winter, it requires a different skill. And I'm reminded of the African proverb and story of the ant and the grasshopper. The ant had weathered a couple seasons, but the grasshopper was bigger than the ant. He thought he was beautiful. He was more beautiful than the ant. So he's like, who is this lowly ant trying to advise me? I'm taller than him. I'm greener than him. I'm cooler than him. I'm stronger than him. Who is he trying to advise me? I'm going to go relax over here. It's summer. I'll deal with that when the time comes. The ant is like, you might want to tighten up. You might want to open the funnel. You might want to learn how to help more people. You might want to read a little bit more. You might want to build up your resistance because something's coming. I've always said winter's coming, Bobby. I've always said the winter's coming. As a matter of fact, for a lot of people, the winter's here right now. If your business isn't doing what you needed to do or what you wanted to do or what your family would like for it to do, you're in winter right now. You can't see the snow, but I promise you it's present. The bear is on your back. You might not notice that it doesn't sound like Jaws. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. It might not sound like that right now, but that's only because you can't hear it. A seasoned veteran, a trained eye can see the enemy and knows when it's approaching and knows when it's in the bushes. But you don't know it because this is your first time out. So you're like, oh, little ant, please don't advise me. Don't tell me anything. I'm fine. I don't need to watch the videos. I don't need to study. I don't need to read. Why would I need to read and do push-ups and stuff? Can't you see? I know what I'm doing. Okay, great. I tell people this all the time. I say, you're going to go to sleep 25, 35, and you're going to wake up 50. And things are going to change if you don't take immediate action now. If you don't take immediate action now in your business to learn closing, to learn speaking, to really learn evidence-based coaching, not that other stuff, not that fly-by-night 2-day certification stuff, but really understand the intricacies of relationship building, active listening, open-ended questions, things of that nature, then you will be caught. You will be caught, and it will get cold. So the grasshopper went to sleep one night or one day and woke up buried under snow. That's how he woke up. And that's kind of like when it comes to mind, like when you become aware of it, Bobby, it's almost always too late.
Yeah.
It's almost always too late. And many don't survive. But if you survive, watch this, guys. If you survive, you become one of two. You become either the cynical one who says, oh, I've done that before, that stuff doesn't work, and curse everything about it, or you become one of the wise ones, the person who called Bobby in the office and said, you're cosmetic. The reason why he knew it was because he had either done that himself and come back from it, or he had seen it so many times that it was unmistakable. Either way, he was a seasoned veteran. He knew what he was talking about. And even though he said it harshly, he had the best intent in mind. And sometimes it takes a shaking up to wake somebody up, to save their lives. You know, they say something, and I'm not, you know, I don't have the military background. I have the Harlem background. There was something I learned in Harlem, and it has a relationship to a drowning person. When someone's drowning, you typically don't go close to them because they're scared to death. They're flailing frantically, and they will either hurt you or drag you under with them. So sometimes if you want to save their life, the best thing you can do is let them flail themselves out and pass out, or knock them out and then drag them to safety.
That is 100% military grade advice as well. we know the same thing, and we're taught the same things. It's like you cannot go out there and help someone that's not trying to help themselves. So the way they teach it to us is they throw out the buoy, but you've got to grab it yourself. They'll pull you in, but if you don't grab it, then you're done. You're gonna have to wait until you obviously pass out, and they'll come get you. But another thing that came to my mind just about competencies and skills and the different things that go into surviving the winter. Like that's what came to my mind was in the Marine Corps, we call it cold weather warfare. So we train depending on the terrains that we're going to be in. So we even have different types of boots. We're not going to get too deep into this, but we got like 4 or 5 minutes, so I'll be brief. But we've got jungle warfare, we've got cold weather warfare, and we've got guerrilla warfare. And those were the warfares that I was trained in, you know, as I came up. And you've got different boots. You've got cold weather boots. You've got jungle boots. Cold weather boots do not have this breathing apparatus on it for the shoes to breathe and things of that nature. And I'm just going to paint a small picture for you. Our cold weather gear is white, and our gear that is also cold weather has various insulations and things of that nature, whereas our jungle gear is very breathable. It's very airy. You can get a lot of wind into it, assuming that you're going to be in a hot tropical environment. And what's interesting about this is that you want to be trained for the terrain that you're going to be in. And in business, you're going to be in all types of terrain. And I think that it's so interesting that we can get trained in one terrain in business. And oftentimes it can be, in my experience and observation, it can be for the sun, for the summer, for the jungle warfare. Okay, the revenues is coming in, you know, money this and money that. We got to keep this stuff flowing in. And that's say for the winter or for the summer times. And you need that. But the interesting thing that I have found personally is that business has a season. No matter what business you're in, there's going to be times where it's just cold. Now, it might not be every year like clockwork, but it's going to come. And you have to be able to pretty much weather the storm in those instances. Like, how do I stay warm? How do I like chisel out? It's so crazy because I can give you so many analogies. But imagine, because here's one analogy for us that I learned while I was in a particular cold weather training that should be able to resonate with you guys. So when it's warm, the water is flowing and the water is hot. It's not iced over. But once it's freezing outside, it's cold and the ice and the water is icy. You're not getting as much rain, you're getting snow or hail and things of this nature. So when you tie this back to business, when the lead magnets are working, the clients are loving the offer and everything is good, that's like summertime. And then it becomes winter. And it's like the offer isn't working, the funnel is closed up on us, the clients are, the churn is up for whatever reason, like people are breaching their contracts, and you're just like, what in the Sam Hill is going on? And now you have to literally get water out of a rock, or you have to figure out how to start a fire in the tundra so that you can boil enough ice into water just to drink enough to stay in the game. And I say all of that to say this: coaching, here's my arsenal that I always take with me everywhere I go. Branding like a leader, coaching like a leader, speaking like a leader, closing like a leader, marketing like a leader, and then branded like a leader 2.0. Every course, every alien call that I need to get access to, I got it in Brand You. Like when I tell you guys, I look like a G.I. Joe. Whatever I need, I'm like the guy on the corner that's got everything in his pocket. But I'm literally ready for battle. So I just say all of that to paint a bit of a humorous image of it. But you want to be ready for war, and you definitely don't want to find yourself up the creek without a paddle, because I've been there and I would have been toast had I not had what I needed.
This is very timely, right? And just to clarify again, like I've never been to the military, but I have been to war. I have been to battle, like seasoned veteran when it comes to making bad decisions and suffering consequences of those and separating myself from the pack and thinking I had it all figured out. Seasoned veteran and loss. Read the 7 prerequisites to success. Read the 7 prerequisites to success. It begins with hard times. And then the second chapter is failure, right? I started this analogy, I started this whole segment talking about contribution and giving an acknowledgement to Canelo Alvarez, who continues year after year to provide his fights free of charge to his home country. That's what this is, guys. That bad business is war. And we're trying to throw you a buoy early on before you go under, because we understand, I definitely understand what it requires to hit 5, 6, 7, multiple 7, 8 figures. I know what it takes. I know how hard it is to maintain mental health, discipline, wellness, a diet regimen, working out, a relationship, a marriage, children in the battle. I know what it feels like. And that link at the bottom is for a call, for support. It's a buoy. If you find yourself in battle, if you find yourself in business and you really don't know what you're doing and you're kind of going under, bobbing up, got a little bit of strength left, but can't see the land. Sometimes you think you see the land and it's a mirage. You'll be actually swimming away from the land because the devil's a liar and your eyes will lie on you too. You'll be like, I see the land. I know what's going on. I just got to make it to the next whale client. Okay, great. But you're not giving the right messaging. You're not giving the right marketing. You're not positioned correctly. You're dying out. You're going in the wrong direction. Hold on. Come back, man. That's what this is. That's what Branded Like a Leader is. So when you see us, put these different links up, it's for salvation purposes. It's so that you can study for one day and do the same thing that so many people have done. Take one day of learning, go get 1 year of results. Literally, 1 year of results. We help people make their yearly income monthly, their monthly income weekly, and their weekly income daily. And that'll give you some wings under the wax. And so when the wax melts and your ego wears off and your motivation dissipates, you've got something under the hood that is tangible and evidence-based. That's what the Breakfast with the Brand is. That's what the YouTube channel is. That's what the multiple different channels are and the platforms are. Go look at us, Google us, see who we really are and how we can help you to go from the battle that you find yourself into the landing zone. Because it's imperative that we do not fail. And it's imperative for your children that you do become successful. For your children's children, for children's children's children that you'll never be able to see. I'm not doing this for myself nor my children. I'm doing it for their children's children. So that it really makes a difference. And it really leaves an impact. And it really creates a legacy. It's bigger than a belt and it's bigger than a watch. And if it's not bigger than your ego, you will not survive. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. We'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard. Let's grow.